We've been getting a lot of questions about our plan to actually reduce taxes in the state of Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, people kind of yawn when I talk about it because they assume politicians don't actually know how to really cut taxes. So let me be very specific. It's not political. It's not normal for politicians to be very, very specific on what they're going to do. I would like to do that for you because in the business world, that's how we have to behave. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take a look at the rate of inflation. For a generation, taxes have been going up in the state faster than the rate of inflation, and what I'd like to do is cap the overall growth rate of spending at 1% lower than the rate of inflation. That is to say, we're going to shrink government by 1% a year in real dollar terms. If we do that, we should expect inflation at about 3%. That would mean that spending could be going up as much as 2% or less, I might add. And capping spending overall will lead to a surplus in the budget that we can actually use for reducing taxes. We need to understand that revenues grow to the state budget for two reasons. They grow because of inflation, and that's not hard to understand. If you get a pay raise at work, obviously you're going to pay more taxes in next year. That's inflation. But they also grow because of real growth in the economy. When you think about real growth in the economy, if we have new jobs created here in the state of Wisconsin, that's real growth in the economy, and those people that work at those jobs, of course, pay taxes into the state, and that increases revenue. So if we get out of this recession, get back to a point where we have real growth in the economy at 2% and inflation at 3%, that would effectively mean that revenues to the state budget are growing at a 5% rate. I'll go back to the cap and spending increases. If we allow spending to go up at 1% less than the rate of inflation, or an estimated 2% or less, and we have revenues growing at 5%, that effectively creates a 3% surplus on an annual basis. Over an 8-year period of time, we could literally reduce the taxes in the state of Wisconsin by 24%. I think it's important you know that I understand that this is not a straight line graph. I know it's a curve graph, and it's much easier to see using these straight lines, so I've illustrated it this way. For the mathematicians, I do understand it's a curve. We're talking about doing this systematically and incrementally as opposed to some dramatic budget cuts short term that destroy and disrupt the economy here in our state on a temporary basis. Now, there may be parts of government that need to actually grow a little bit faster than 1% less than the rate of inflation. For example, if we're bringing a lot of businesses in here, the transportation budget may need to grow faster in order to provide the infrastructure necessary to attract the jobs to our state, and we would be looking at that. But if one area grows faster than what we're prescribing here, there's going to have to be another area cut to offset the increase in the transportation, if that's the area we're talking about. This plan is not unprecedented. It is, in effect, the exact same thing that we did, or very, very similar to what we did in Washington, D.C. when I was in Congress. Remember, when I went there, the attitude in our country was very much like it is today. We had huge deficits. People did not believe in our country anymore. We were losing jobs all over the place. While I was there, we actually balanced the budget using this plan that I'm talking about. We started paying down the debt. We passed the biggest tax increase in American history, and the result was jobs were created in the tens of thousands every month.